It all began in a cold, dark shed in the middle of the night. It was nearly 3 a.m. when the man put the finishing touches on a machine he believed would change the world. Every bolt had been planned and replanned in his mind for months. Every last detail had been considered and reconsidered, except for one, the most important one. For months, as the individual pieces were brought into the small brick barn behind his rented home, the man who would indeed change the world forgot that the whole was greater than the sum of its parts, literally. For when Henry Ford was finally ready to test his machine, it was too big to get through the doors of his shed. In a fashion typical to Americans, who since the earliest days have been defined by a certain brash, impatient character, Henry Ford grabbed a sledgehammer and beat the walls down to get his soon-to-be famous device on the road. The next morning, his landlord was enraged at the damage, until he saw the quadricycle. Indeed, in that one moment of invention and exuberance, one can come to understand a broader truth that has been the hallmark of the American character for generations. We are a nation of dreamers and doers, a nation of bravado and delivery, a nation defined by a can-do spirit that has at once inspired and confounded the rest of the world. Throughout the 100-plus years of the Ford Motor Company, and indeed the American automobile industry, we can read many storylines that point to the essence of what America is all about. One can find all the drama and excitement, all the triumph and success that have made us who we are today. This is the story not just of an American company, but rather it is the story of an institution that continues to redefine the world in the 21st century. It's a story of grit and guts, passion and perseverance, innovation and imagination, and that uniquely American entrepreneurial spirit, born in its remarkable founder and alive today in the new pioneers that are recrafting the wheels of the world in the most complex and competitive industry on earth. This is the story of Ford, the man, the company, and importantly, a band of revolutionaries that are betting it all, defying all the odds, and in doing so, are not only leading an historic, proud, and critically important American industry through unprecedented economic turmoil, but are reestablishing American automotive leadership and reinventing the world's automobiles for the 21st century.
I want to be part of the team that can look back and when I retire someday and say, you know what, we helped polish the oval and restore Ford Motor Company to its rightful place atop the American road.
So we really made a blood pact, if you will, that says we want to be best in quality, we want to be consistent, we want to make sure that we start every meeting with, how are we doing in quality?
And I think that the one thing that will separate the winners from the losers is how well you execute and how well you stay focused on the customer.
And that's exactly what's happening at the Ford Motor Company. What they see is the bottom is behind them. They have a vision and a hope for the future that extends well beyond the current time, and that's why they're being so successful in doing what they're doing.
Ford is in a whole nother game because they have the outside guy, and he came in like a freight train from Kansas, like the Sunshine Express. When he walked in the door, he knew where he was going, and he took everyone with him, and it is absolutely infectious.
This is a very exciting time for Ford and everybody associated with Ford because of the success we're having implementing this new compelling vision for Ford. Of one Ford, a complete family of vehicles, cars, utilities, and trucks, small, medium, and large, being best in class in quality, fuel efficiency, safety, and the very best value. It is an exciting time for everybody. They know they're associated with a company that's making the finest cars and trucks in the world right now.
What we have is an absolute depression in the auto business, a revenue shortfall that fell on top of the problems that we have with energy, and so that is the ultimate perfect storm in this business. If you look just at the last couple of years, you see some amazing events. For example, a year and a half ago when we had this dramatic run-up in energy prices, that caused a very rapid shift in the customer base, which was tough on the industry because all of a sudden people wanted small cars. 6 months later and 6 months before they didn't, and I don't care how good an industry is, how agile or flexible it is, it just couldn't change as quickly as the market changed. When they say, well, this is an industry that's in a serious recession, this is not a recession. This industry would be just fine. We would not have had bankruptcies had this been a recession. In fact, it's a revenue problem caused by a roughly depression level of sales in this business, which is about 4 million units annually below what we would think of as a normal recession.
It's hard to point to a specific date when the storm began. Gathering clouds over the last decade signaled trouble on the horizon that could ultimately reshape the entire automobile industry. But few could predict just how destructive the perfect storm would be to automakers around the world, and especially those here in the United States. The economic hurricane left in its wake sales of automobiles at levels not seen since the Great Depression, and the overall economy in shambles. It is no surprise that the automobile industry was affected so severely by the economic whirlwind at the close of the first decade in the 21st century, because it is arguably the most complex and market-sensitive business in the world. The complexity starts with the product itself. Thousands of parts and sophisticated electronic and mechanical systems that have to start every time and work perfectly together, day in and day out, not standing still like a washing machine, but constantly in motion at different speeds over different kinds of road in all kinds of weather conditions. Add to that an array of models, styles, and equipment that have to meet the specific needs of consumers of every lifestyle and life stage, needs and desires that are in a constant state of flux based on the trends of the time. To respond to those changing needs and shifting trends in the marketplace with products that are heavily capital intensive, requiring long development times, has been and remains one of the most difficult business challenges any corporation must face. Add to this the fact that the automobile industry is perhaps more vulnerable to the ups and downs of economic cycles than any other industry in the market. But normal market swings are one thing. The most recent worldwide economic disaster is quite another.
I sat in this office a few months ago with the head of MIDI's. This is the Ministry of Industry and Trade's automotive division, and he made an interesting comment. He said that every industrialized country in the world understand the role that manufacturing plays at the policy levels, with one exception, and that's us here in the United States. We understand finance, we understand tech, we understand agriculture, but we really didn't understand the role that manufacturing plays in our economy, and the role is significant. And one of the reasons that the government has come to the automotive catastrophe is a very simple one, because of the high multiplier in this industry, the significance, the scale of this industry. This industry, if it were to collapse, this could have taken what is now a depression in auto and escalated that into a depression in the entire economy.
As the gathering storm set in on the world's automobile industry, no manufacturer, European, Asian, or American, escaped its devastating impact. But one company, an American company, began to quietly emerge on the world stage as a beacon of light in what appeared to be an ever-darkening horizon. Through dynamic leadership and a renewed dedication to building the best cars in the world, the Ford Motor Company was prepared to embrace the new economic realities as an opportunity to reinvent itself and its products for the 21st century. The men and women of Ford thus embarked on a mission to save one of our nation's great institutions. And today, that company stands on the brink of one of the most dynamic turnarounds in American history.
Worst of times, the worst of times worldwide. What we're here today is to celebrate a plan to profitably grow Ford.
Ford had kind of a near-death experience a few years ago, and as a part of that, when credit was available, they got a line of credit that said bad things could happen, give us a line of credit. And the story goes, they even pledged the Ford Blue Oval as a part of that. But as it turned out, there was tremendous foresight in that, and that is really what has brought Ford through this period without bankruptcy, and I think created a platform for great future success for the entire industry, and particularly for the Ford Motor Company.
Well, one of the things that I feel best about going into this last downturn is that we did protect our investment for the future. Many companies didn't, as they saw this economic dislocation coming, and they cut back their R&D, they cut back their engineering, they cut back their investment in the future. We didn't. We kept investing in all the new technologies that we thought were going to come to fruition, and in fact, now they are coming. And I think it positions Ford very well. And so, not that we needed a reminder, but it certainly is a reminder of the importance of investing in the future, even in the grimmest of times.